Good evening, and welcome you all again tonight as we chat with your next U.S. Senator, Angie Nixon. So, tonight, what we are talking about is not abstract. We want to name clearly almost half of Florida voters say the cost of living is the single biggest issue facing the state. And that number has jumped in 10 points just since February. So, this isn't about talking points. This is a true across every income bracket, from under 50,000 to people who make more than 150,000 per year. It is true in every region of our state. So tonight, again, and every Sunday night until August 18th, it is Ask Angie, your next U.S. Senator. So you're more than welcome to drop your questions into the chat. For some of you all that would like to come up and actually be able to ask those questions, we'll get that coordinated throughout the call. So I wanted to make sure to name again as we go further what's happening. Families are facing an affordability crisis. Angie has signed up in order to protect working families. And many things that were related to that are childcare issues, ICE attacking our communities, people losing their jobs, and just the cost of everyday things like groceries. So we'd love to hear from you all. At this moment, we're going to give
It's bad.
Angie a few moments to speak on what she's hearing on the ground, to talk about her position as it relates to gas, grocery, and rent. And before we go any further, today is Sunday, and it is Father's Day. So we want to say Happy Father's Day. Hey there, is that Jerry? Happy Father's Day.
Sit
And,
back.
and also, hey
She's
Jude.
in her she's in her booster seat, but she wants to move around. Please sit back, Ashanti. Thank you.
And happy belated anniversary to you both as well. And before I turn it over to Angie, I will share an ironic story. Before she ever took on this journey, their wedding anniversary is on Juneteenth. And what is special about that is each year that I've known her, she did a kickback, which is like a gather for the people in the community. So her and Jared using their time to honor the anniversary to pour back into the community has always been one of the most
Sit
amazing things
back.
that I've ever seen and encountered. So I do want to name that for everyone that is tuning in as I turn it over to Angie.
Hey everyone. Sorry, you are catching us on a Father's Day weekend. And we also did some campaigning earlier today, but ooh. Yes. Hi everyone. Happy Father's Day to everyone. Super excited. We're heading back from Tampa, but yeah, been traveling all across the state of Florida, having conversations with folks. Talked to some Temple Terrace residents today, and then decided to hang out with my hubby and my daughter for Father's Day. But yes, gas prices, they've jumped from 1% to 4. They've jumped 14% since February, and we know why that happened. That happened because Donald Trump. Please keep the car on so the thing won't go off. That happened because Donald Trump decided to start a war that was very unnecessary. It was a war of choice, and it was a war that actually helped his friends and family get a lot richer, based on defense contracts and all types of things that were happening in the Middle East. And it's just so very unfortunate. And all I know is that he did not have the right to start a war without congressional approval and approval from the Senate. And I just think that we need to make sure that we're sending senators there who are going to vote the right way, and will make sure that there is a ton of accountability, as well as transparency in regards to what's happening. And so, thank you for that, though, raising that concern.
Absolutely. I also want to share just some more of the actual data that we've come across for you to even talk about. So there have been top concerns
Right.
from people from across the state, and the concerns have increased related to groceries by 24%. Increases as it relates to property insurance has increased by 18%. Concerns related to gas cost has increased by 14%. And then costs related to rent and mortgage has increased by 11%.
Yeah. I think it's important for folks to know that actually in the state of Florida, our cost of rent has gone up even more than that. So we are, well, that may be the number, but we are the worst place to rent in the country. and we are roughly about 18% the national average of renters. And the problem is that was done because simply because folks wanted to make more money off of hardworking everyday people like you, which is one of the reasons why I believe that we need rent stabilization. There needs to be a freeze on rent right now, especially right now, maybe for about a year or so. Rent cannot go up. And we can make sure that we are allowing folks to just kind of like catch their breath right now. I spoke with someone the other day and they told me that their rent went up $500 after they had been there staying a while, but their rent went up $500 this year, and now 6 months later, they're trying to go up another $500. And though it may not be legal to do, the folks don't have anywhere else to go, right? And so this woman wind up actually going ahead and leaving, and now she's living in a hotel with her kids, and she is a teacher. And so that's sad and it's frustrating and it shouldn't be that way. And that's one of the reasons why there definitely needs to be a national registry as it relates to folks who have rental properties or landlords, right? There needs to be a national registry, so folks can know, see the bad actors. Also, a place where folks can report if there's any slumlords, if there's any really bad landlords that are jacking up the rents, and we can make sure that we are holding these landlords accountable for the way in which they are doing things. And so that's definitely needed. We also need to make sure that there's more affordable housing. We need to ensure that instead of spending $1 billion on a ballroom that you will never dance in, that money can be going into HUD, and making sure that there are more affordable housing units being developed. Also, the current housing stock that they have, as it relates to like some of the federal housing buildings, that we need to make sure we're holding those landlords accountable, right? Like some of those, and I previously worked in, I was organizing, I was doing some organizing at one of the apartment units like Hilltop in Jacksonville. And there were a lot of things, there were a lot of issues. And so we need to fine people if they don't do the right thing. If there were rats in Hilltop. There was also mold, and people shouldn't live like that just because they can't afford to live in market rate housing. That's not right for people to be treated that way, and especially if at the end of the day these folks, the landlords, the owners of the apartment complexes, they're being made whole because they're getting money from the federal government, so they need to take care of their buildings. And so if they're not, then money needs to be withheld until they do the right thing, or they need to lose those contracts, right? And so those are some of the things that I am really supportive of doing. We need to basically just modernize a lot of these units, as well as put more housing stock into the communities. But we got to fund that stuff, right? We have to fund it. And the way in which we fund it is rolling back the big BS bill. It's not beautiful, it's BS, because it gave all these billionaires and millionaires these tax breaks. And they need to pay what they owe. There are some companies, there are 88 companies that made over $105 billion last year, and they pay zero in federal taxes. Meanwhile, your girl over here, me, I have to go into a payment plan for federal taxes because I got to pay them $14,000 in federal taxes. And so, but they didn't pay anything. That's not right. And so we need to make sure that these billionaires and that these corporations are paying what they owe.
Thank you for bringing that up as it relates to taxes. I know personally, if I was with a person who prided myself on paying my taxes because I felt like it was doing my part to help take care of the people in my community. And
Exactly.
there's a lot that I see, even with people engaging on your post. One of the things that you say that really stands out to so many of us is that we all deserve to have nice things. And what I find to be interesting is that when you name what is possible and what we should be able to have, the number of people who ask, how are we going to pay for all of the free things and all the free giveaways? And so I would love for you to be able to speak to people so they can have clarity, number one, about what's not free, but then actually how things
Yeah,
actually can be funded.
I think it's really important to note that Donald Trump illustrates that there is money to be spent by the federal government. Donald Trump found so much money. He's found $14 million for a reflective pool that wind up turning green anyway. He found $1 billion for a ballroom. He found nearly $2 billion a day for this war. They're finding all this money for ICE, $170 billion for ICE, for the Department of DHS. And maybe if we put our priorities in order, if we focus on hardworking everyday people like you all and stop trying to take
Oh, we
part
froze
in,
in
uh-oh,
transition.
can you hear
There
me?
we are.
Okay.
We can now.
Maybe if they stop playing into expensive political stunts or looking out for his campaign donors by providing them with no bid contracts, we can focus on making sure that folks have housing. We can focus on making sure that public schools are fully resourced. We can focus on healthcare. Medical debt is a leading cause of bankruptcy. And the fact that they're spending all of this money to do things that none of us asked for. We didn't ask for any of this stuff that Trump is doing. But what we did ask for is the government to stop, the government to help us, right? Like help us live, be able to afford to live here in this state, in this country. And so the problem is they just have their values in the wrong place. And if it was on the people, then a lot of these things would change. It's really not hard, y'all. They try to make it seem like it's super hard and it's super complex, but it's not. It's not at all.
Thank you so much, Rep Nixon. And for people who are just talking about the concerns of families as it relates to gas, groceries, and cost of living, one of the questions that has come up in the comments is they like to know what about a food apartheid? So not even just food costs, but like how food is
Yeah.
not available to people in certain areas.
For sure. So I am super supportive of co-ops. I believe instead of investing in corporations and trying to get them to stay in food deserts, food insecure areas. I think there's another term that just started. I don't know what the new term is, but instead of like giving a ton of money to these big corporations to come and open up these grocery stores, I think it makes sense for us as the government to invest in community co-ops so that the neighborhood could have a shared interest in these cooperatives, right? These grocery cooperatives. And we should be making sure that the USDA actually helps source some of these food items, right? That could be a part of the work that they do. I mean, it makes sense because they work with a lot of farmers, right? And this would also help some of the smaller farmers because right now the USDA does a lot with some of the bigger farmers. And so making sure that they're identifying farmers from huge farmers with not millions, but hundreds of thousands of acres to the ones who have, 25, 30 acres, 50 acres, right? And making sure that they're connected to these community co-op grocery stores, right? They're sourcing the food from there, purchasing from them. And then of course the community's gonna take care of their grocery store. They're gonna shop in their grocery store. They're gonna tell other members of the community to shop there. And it's a win-win. And that money gets reinvested into the community. Like the community makes money off of it instead of these big corporations, right? And so I think that that makes sense. And I think that, it can also be a way in which, you just mentioned food apartheid, right? So I believe that the extension offices, we need to be making sure that USDA and the extension offices and everything, that they are fully funded and have resources to teach people how to grow their food in times of food insecurity. I know that there was a bug or something that started getting into food over in Texas in the Southwest area, and it started destroying crops as well as like livestock and that type of thing. And so folks do need to understand how to potentially grow their food and that type of stuff. But it's education that has to happen. And we cannot be cutting programs and resources to farm workers and farmers and all these things like we continually see, so that we can make sure that these folks get these tax breaks. It's time that hardworking everyday people get tax breaks, right? Not these billionaires who oftentimes exploit their workers and don't even want to pay them a living wage. Look, y'all, it doesn't have to be this way. But I am fully supportive of ensuring that we invest in community co-op grocery stores.
Thank you so much. So what I'm hearing you say is that hard work should lead to a better life. I mean that housing costs are too high while they're giving out tax breaks to everything except for real people with real belief. One of the questions that someone actually has is related to property taxes. And so with them, they just want the pros and the cons of this property tax bill.
Yeah, for sure. So we can talk through that. That is a state issue, but I can talk through that. And so, I mean, look, y'all, I know that for some people, property taxes are a problem and they may not be able to afford them. For some of the seniors and for some of the folks who are on a fixed income and may be on the lower end of the economic ladder, they could have done this in a more progressive fashion. What do I mean by that? There could be, excuse me, a sliding scale as it relates to how much people pay if they can't afford property to pay their property taxes. It could go down to zero, right? Instead of fully exempting even some of the billionaires and their homes, right? As it relates to the homestead exemption. But what's going to happen is um, all local governments use a lot of property tax money to help fund the government, to help fund the programs and keep your streets clean, keep your infrastructure together, right? Police and fire, public schools. Granted, they carved out the public schools so that they won't be impacted by this funding somewhat. But what we heard from firefighters is that unfortunately, if people have an emergency, um, they may, if public safety officials come there, firefighters or your EMTs, if they come, you may get hit with a bill if they're saving your life or saving your home or had to put out a fire. You gonna get hit with a bill because they have to pay for their employees. They have to pay for their equipment. They have to pay for their fire engines, and everything is going up. And also, like a bunch of the projects that would normally be getting done, maybe there were some roadway projects, some bridges that needed to get fixed that are under the city or the county's purview. Some of those projects may be pushed back because there's going to be a lack of money, and a lot of times these projects, they depend on like bond ratings, right? And so it's kind of like they borrow money.
Oh, I think we're in one of those areas, so she'll be right back with us in a moment. As we wait for her to come back, just remember to drop your questions in the chat. Also, for us, while this is a live Q&A, we're also inviting people in upcoming Sunday sessions to join us on camera. And you have the opportunity to state to us why you are here, what you want to know, why Rep Nixon's candidacy is something that is so important and so special. So just to kind of reframe as we're waiting for her to get through that dead zone, that this is about actually hearing from you all. And having the opportunity for people to hear from you directly. And so, yes, they can see your comments in the chat, but just because of who she is and how Angie actually does things, that is imperative. While we are waiting for her to actually come back, I will share a bit more data just so that we have that. One moment.
Sorry about that. My computer died. But no, so some of those bond ratings, we're gonna have lower bond ratings. And so people, that means that the interest rate on a lot of the money we will use to borrow for some of these projects is going to be astronomical. And it's going to cause some of these projects to be really, really, really expensive. And so some of them are gonna be halted altogether, or some are going to be pushed back, and we're just going to have less and less and less of things because we don't have the money, and it's very unfortunate. um it, like, whenever you call your city government for something, y'all, like, that's where a lot of their money comes from, some of these property taxes. So I'm just thinking about the code enforcement, your waste management, so knowing like your trash pickup, your recycling pickup, your water, um some of, well, us, we have like public utilities, but also like some of the water, making sure that it's clean. It's a lot of stuff that's gonna be messed up, or stopped. Also I'm thinking about last year in Jacksonville, they were talking about cutting Meals on Wheels programs and all that type of stuff. So that's what the seniors need. Senior centers, a lot of after school programs. Also, a lot of nonprofits get their money from city and county governments to operate, right? To make sure our children are off the streets, just all kinds of things. So we're going to see some devastating impacts because of this property insurance bill if it passes, right? So it's going to be on the ballot. You all can vote against it. I hope you vote against it.
Thank you so much. One thing that you also did share is that this initiative is at the state level. So just naming that, for people who might have just joined us or that just clear understanding. I know that you now running for U.S. Senate. People are asking, how is it that you will represent Florida in the U.S. government? And so one of the questions that someone has is, how would you plan to address the privatization of the VA through the Take Care of Americans Veterans Act?
Yeah. So I would definitely work to push back on that. I don't think we need privatization of any of our governmental agencies because that just causes a lot of potential to have a lot of waste, right? And there's a lack of transparency and accountability. We see time and time again with all these privatization efforts. Like, look what's happening now with a lot of these detention centers, that are going up. They are jacking up prices and like basically fleecing us and taking us for all our money. Porta potties are going like, so for instance, I can just talk through to what the state of Florida. The state of Florida was dependent upon the federal government for reimbursing them for some of these detention centers that they stood up. Granted, they said the Fed said that they're not going to do that, because Trump doesn't like DeSantis, and it was just a crap show. But this is what they do, right? A lot of these detention centers are privatized. So here in the state of Florida, Alligator, they call it Alcatraz, I call it the Everglades Detention Center. They spent, I want to say, $114 billion on porta potties. They spent I'm not I'm sorry, $114 million on porta potties. They spent several millions of dollars on security, several millions of dollars on standing up the tents. And so it is just, it's a grift. And many of these companies had no big contracts. And so the same thing is happening with the VA, right? And so we need to make sure that we are modernizing the VA. We need to make sure that it stays in under the government's wheelhouse, like that it is government workers that are there. We need to hire more people at the VA. I know a lot of people lost their jobs when Donald Trump and Elon Musk started Doge. And so we need to rehire a lot of those people and hire even more so that we can make sure that the wait times for veterans are not a problem, right? And we need to make sure that we are paying the reimbursement rates for many of the VA doctors and everything, like making sure these folks are getting paid. And so, like, that's what needs to happen. But you can't do that when you cut taxes for the rich. You can't. And oftentimes, these folks got rich off of our backs, on our backs, right? And so they need to pay their fair share. They are not. They get all these tax breaks, these tax loopholes, and everything. And so that money needs to go back to ensure that our veterans, people who paid, put their lives on the line, making sure that they're good. There's too many times that I get phone calls and folks can't even get their benefits, and it's just absolutely ridiculous.
Thank you so much. So one of the questions that came up before we go to the questions, which is a very quick question, one is, can you make it back to Gainesville before the primary election? So I'm happy to answer that or turn it over to you to answer. So it's up to you.
Yeah, we'll be going back. Yes, I actually will be there on July 4th.
Yes. And July 20th. And she is going on tour for everyone that is watching across the state. So she's kind of already been on tour, but actually going where across the state there'll be even more. I want to drop a shameless plug at this time. Our tour stops and everything is successful with people. And so what that means is reaching out, letting us know where you are, if you'd like there, and just help making sure that people are there in the space. And that goes to one of the next comments that was actually dropped. It says, "I'm so mad at corporate media for not even mentioning you. They only mention your opponent. Morning Joe is a perfect example of not mentioning you, and this, as they say, pisses me off." So I wanted to also like name that, and then maybe ask, what is it that people can do to ensure that you are more visible and holding like corporate media and other spaces accountable for mentioning you?
Yeah, for sure. So folks should write and email and tag all of these big mainstream media platforms and let them know I'm in the race, right? But also you all should, we have to break through. And the way in which we can break through is you all should not email people. Yes, email people, but like tell everyone that you know that's in Florida to like follow me on social media, join our People Power campaign. Let them know that I am in the race, that someone else is in the race. Would be super, super, super helpful. That's a way in which we can break through. I'm not a part of the establishment. I'm not. I believe that the establishment has got to go, honestly. I'm not a part of the establishment Dems. I'm not a corporate Dem. And they're the ones that are in power and they are the ones that don't want to let go of power. And so why would they allow folks to kind of give a platform to me? It is so telling and such a shame that our Democratic Party, our state Democratic Party, which I used to work for a year, by the way, don't even want us to debate. Like they're not even calling for a debate between me and Alex Vindman. But that's because they want Alex Vindman to be the leadership there wants Alex Vindman to win. And it's just very unfortunate because he's gonna do more of the same. He's gonna uphold the status quo. He's not gonna challenge anything, right? He's not going to rock the boat. He's not going to push back. Look, I'm someone who's pushing back because was the current state that we're in right now is bad. And so there needs to be some massive changes. And we also have to be really clear about the fact that the leadership in the Republican Party, they're not good adversaries. The folks that are in power right now, Washington D.C., they're not good adversaries. That means they're not going to be acting in good faith, and we can't go over there and act like they are going to because they have not. They have done everything to, cause basically government shutdowns, to cause things from actually getting better. And so we need someone over there that's going to stand up to them and push back and not toe the line and vote against them when they need to be voted against. We don't need someone that's going to continually be a rubber stamp for Donald Trump, and I'm not going to do that. And so also, I think it's important to highlight that many of the Democrats that are in DC, the ones in leadership, unfortunately, they're in alignment with some of the Republicans, especially when it comes to insider stock trading, right? Especially when it comes to insurance companies. You can't take the same money that Republicans take and then why would we expect them to vote a different way? That's why the majority of them vote the same way. We could have Medicare for all. We can, but it's too many Democrats that are taking money from insurance companies or PACs that are getting money from insurance companies. And so how would you expect anything to be different? I'm not taking any money from corporate PACs. I'm not taking money from PACs that take money from corporations. I'm the only candidate in the primary that can say that because let's be clear, Alex Vindman is taking money from leadership PACs that get money from corporations, the same corporations that he claims he's fighting against. How is that really a thing? It's not. And so yeah, that's crazy.
Thank you so much. So I see a few people that are stating that we can't see their comments, in which we can't, maybe because it's something with the algorithm. So I did want to name two things. The way that you're able to submit questions even ahead of time is by signing up through Mobilize. There's a space for you to ask your question. There's also a Facebook event that is here, so we're able to get those ahead of time. So one of the things I want to name, and Angie says it very often, is she's here to answer all of the questions, even the
Yeah.
difficult questions. And so I want to make sure that I extend that as well. So, to one of the questions is that a person says that these packs also hide behind registered agents, and no one has to ID. So, just naming that for people that are in the space and that are unfamiliar. Someone else stated that they are also a sick of the establishment. So wanted to name
Someone asked about Puerto Rican statehood. Do you
yes.
see that?
Let me. So I have one for Citizens United, and then I can go to that one next.
Okay, go ahead.
So there's a question. They just want to know your position on Citizens United,
It
and
should
we'll
be
be pushing it for.
overturned. I believe Citizens United should be overturned. And I also believe that we need to lower the threshold for campaign donations from an individual so that hardworking everyday people, their contribution could be almost on the same level as even more wealthier folks, right? If we lower it, right, I believe like the threshold should honestly be like $1,000 per person. Corporations and companies should not be able to donate, and if you could only donate $1,000 per person, right, like that would change a lot of things and the way in which things would go. You can come in.
Thank you so much. So I do see there's two questions related to Puerto Rico. So I'm going to post one and then read it and then post the second one before you answer. So one is, hello, I'm Puerto Rican and fundamentally against statehood. Are you willing to reject statehood and to support in the Senate the independence for Puerto Rico or being in free association with the U.S. like the Republic of Palau? And then the second question is also, the referendum in Puerto Rico have a history of fraud by the PNP, and more young people support independence.
Yeah,
Um,
so yeah, thank you for that question, Matthew. I would say that I just believe that the people in Puerto Rico should make the decision on what type of government they want, what type of economy they want, the leadership that they want. That's not my decision. So I'm fully supportive of whatever it is that they want, right? Like I will vote the way in which they want me to vote because they live in Puerto Rico. I don't live in Puerto Rico. I've only been to Puerto Rico once, but I'm supportive of people being centered in that process.
Thank you so much. Matthew also states, I also want to say I'm deeply sorry for the treatment you experienced from the Democratic Hispanic Caucus of Florida. The head Maca Iglesias should be censored. So just wanted to actually name that. And then also one in response to when we asked the question about what people can do about you not being mentioned, Douglas says call the media producers. They don't care about emails or tweets or comments, etc. So to give them a call. And we appreciate you all for sharing this information. A lot of people that I have talked to and encountered to are not really involved into politics. And they've been very excited about your candidacy. So they want to learn more and how to be more impactful. So I appreciate for everyone that's giving that. Also, there is a question about the property tax referendum that I am searching. It said, what does it mean? Oh, as it pertains to people with exemptions. So we know, again, I do want to name that this is a state issue, but it's one that Angie has been an advocate for and very vocal about. So helping people to understand kind of the difference, but then also taxes in general is how we are funding a government that is funding a war and not taking care of our community. So just wanted to make sure to make clear to everyone listening in as we get the answer to that question. So they want to know, what does it mean for those that receive property tax exemptions? How does this affect us?
Yeah, so when people are going to be exempt, they're going to I believe there's like a 5 year. If you're purchasing a new home, you have to live in Florida for 5 years. For if you get a new home, I believe it's like 5 years before you can be able to get the exemption, the full exemption that they're allowing. But basically, people up to a certain amount, I believe it starts off at 250. And then I have to see, I got to look because some of the bills they changed a little bit. But basically, they're going to not, if you have a home that is up to $250,000, you won't be able, you don't have to pay property taxes. But I think it is going to go to like a full exemption, I believe, or a higher amount. I got to look into it. I'm sorry. I've transitioned completely to federal mode and not state mode. So I'll post that later today after I look it up. But basically, if your house is, say for instance, if they said property exemptions up to like 500,000, so if your home is $498,000, if it's worth that, you wouldn't have to pay any type of property taxes. Anybody that has a home worth under 500,000 or less, if the property exemption was up to 500,000, that means none of them would have to pay property taxes.
Thank you so much.
If your house was 500,000 or less.
Thank you so much. I do want to name with the research that they have done. It is clear that the people who will see the greatest benefit for this will be people of that are high wage earners. So middle class and upper middle class people and lower won't see much of an impact.
Yeah.
And it's actually from the research that actually has been done. That I
Because honestly, like when you have a home that isn't worth that much, your your property taxes are not that much. So you're not really saving too much, right? So it's really for this was for those billionaires. And also I think it's important to note that people's rent is going to go up. And remember, I told you all that in the state of Florida, the uh, the average rent cost is 18% over the national average. And so they're going to have to make up that money somewhere, the local governments and county governments. And so they're probably going to increase the renters they're going to go up on like non-homesteaded properties. And so that's rent, right? That can be certain businesses. So just that's it's not a good situation.
Thank you so much. So we're getting close to the point of where we're closing. So I just wanted to make sure that I named and captured the things that I heard you state. You stated that hard work should lead to a better life. And so for millions of Floridians, the housing costs are too high, while they're handing out tax breaks to developers and to campaign donors. I've heard you state that people that are currently in charge have raised the cost of living through tariffs. Heard you mention unnecessary wars that we did not ask for, and tax breaks for the ultra wealthy were paid by cutting things like healthcare. Things I've heard you mention is you want to tackle this corporate like price gouging. You want to help to create policy or vote on policy that brings down gas and grocery prices, make housing more affordable, and then also lower bills, even as it relates to healthcare. I heard you name that healthcare is the leading cause, or lack of healthcare, or health insurance is the leading cause of
Medical debt is the
medical
leading
debt.
cause is the leading cause of bankruptcy. Yes, medical debt is the leading cause of bankruptcy.
Oh, thank you so much. Things that are clear, just from the data and even from the people in the chat, is that the things that voters are clear that groceries, property insurance, or was mentioned, but then also when it comes to the property tax stuff and gas, we stated at the beginning that gas alone, the concern for has gone from 1% in February to 14% of people by May are super concerned. So to me, that's not a slow burn. It sounds like a tremendous spike. We're only a few months in. And you said, while some are choosing groceries and gas, all the breaks and things are being handed out to people that are already ultra rich. Those are things that I captured from all the things that you shared with us tonight.
Yep, that is what's happening. And look, it doesn't have to be this way, y'all. Again, these elected officials, they try to make it seem like they're so smart and like that things are so complex. It's not. They make it complex because they want you to feel like nothing can change and it takes forever to make things change. But we literally see that Donald Trump is doing whatever he wants to do, and that there is money that he has that could be spent on your actual needs to help make your lives better. I believe that government should work for you and not against you. And right now, that's not what's happening. And so I want to let folks know that I am someone who centers hardworking everyday people. I'm someone who centers hardworking everyday people in everything that I do and all the legislation that I have ever pushed, and I'm going to continue to do that. I think it's also important for me to let you all know that look at what's happening right now, particularly in this primary. If people are not willing to respond to you, not willing to answer your questions, not willing to come to your community, if they're already doing that now as candidates, then what do you think is going to happen if they were to get elected? And so I am someone who has been going all across the state of Florida. I am someone who is not afraid to answer a question, even if it makes me uncomfortable, because I believe that in my uncomfortability, right, like it is going to lead to progress, right? And so I just want to put that out there. And I'm also someone who's going to tell you if I don't know the answer to something, I don't know it, and I will get back to you. Or please, like, suggest something, right? And I think we don't have enough of that anymore in elected officials. People try to act as though they're the smartest person in the room, and that's not the truth. And so, yes, JT, I asked my brother the other day, where was Sewanee County? And he told me it was less than 2 hours away. And so, therefore, I am looking forward to making a pit stop there and to holler at y'all as we continue to traverse all across the state of Florida.
Thank you so much. I will stay. I'll be the person following up. I got the information on Swanee County, so super excited about that. But for everyone else, if what you've heard tonight, any of the numbers and the data that we gave made your blood boil, that energy needs to go somewhere, and we need you on the team, and not just in our chats. So I've dropped information in the chats for you all. We need you between now and August 18th. This fight is what we need, and we need people power. We need organizers on the ground in every single county. We need people helping to set up events. Also, we need people to donate. This fight costs money. Every dollar you give tonight or at any time, it goes directly to organizing in Florida. We want you to chip in what you can. I want to name one of the things that I've seen is a lot of people have stated that, and just videos, like she asked for donations. Her average donation is like $20. So this is absolutely people power. There
Yeah.
is no, we won't come here unless you give X amount of dollars, because this is about people. But in order to help to get the word out, in order to overcome corporate media not willing to say her name or mention that, unfortunately, because there's so much money in campaigns, we have to raise money so that she can be taken seriously as a candidate. We have to take our energy and be able to pour into this actual campaign to get over the finish line. There's also a pledge that's in the chat that helps you to get connected with us, and it's your signing to fight with Angie, and then actually talking to the people that you're closely related to and asking them to do the same thing. We have
Yeah.
a phenomenal fellowship. People are given 12 to 15 hours of their time. Our fellowship is almost doubled, so we're like, I think it's more than 60 fellows now. So that has been an explosion of fellows, but we need all people that are actually there. And so the
We need folks to knock on doors for us. We do. We have an aggressive goal that we need to get so that we can get some more endorsements and break through all the noise. But Shanae, there was a few people that answered some stuff. And Matthew, I see your response, but I would have to definitely talk to some folks in Puerto Rico again. I hear what you're saying, but like we have to figure out a way to make sure that is in fact what the people of Puerto Rico want. And so I want to make that clear. You know, I hear what you're saying, but I just got to make sure that that is what they want. And then Douglas said the SEC is considering a rule change to go from quarterly reports to bi-yearly. How do we stop companies from abusing people's retirements and investments? You find them heavily, or you pull some of their certifications or their ability to actually do business, right? Like you halt them from being able to do business if they're abusing people's retirements and investments. Trying to see, was there anything else? Okay.
I'm excited. So for me, that's exciting. As Dean said, I'm a lead canvasser in Sarasota that you live near, and it's going to help to actually get us started. And again, as we state, people power. We understand this to some, we understand it's hot, but the way we're going to be the most successful is by knocking on doors and talking to people. There's a bunch of people who are not keeping up because they're inundated with so much and they're just trying to survive. And the way that we're going to be able to talk to those people that are not on social media, that don't go to DEC meetings and other political things, is by actually going to their door and engaging them and showing that they're valuable. And so I'm super, super excited about that and thankful.
Yeah.
Thankful for whoever said that I was a good conversation host. I thank you for that
Yeah,
as
she is
well.
amazing.
And then
She synthesizes things so well. And MXA Brown wrote, "What's my view on public schools and vouchers?" Child, all you got to do is go on my Facebook page and my Instagram page. You will see my views on public schools and charters. Look, I believe I don't have a problem with choice. What I do have a problem with is there's a lack of parity and a lack of consistency. If you're going to treat traditional public schools a certain way, you need to treat those charter schools the same way. I don't believe that public dollars should be spent on private schools unless someone has a disability or if they are in a very, very low income household and they're in a bad area where their schools are like failing. But I don't think we need to be subsidizing billionaires and millionaires' children's private schools. And I do have a problem with combining these traditional public and charter schools on one campus, especially since, again, those charter schools, I feel they need to be paying the same rates in which these public schools are paying for things. They don't have to do anything. They can just move in and coexist, cohabitate, right? Like that is it. That is it. Good.
thank you so much. And Michelle says, if you live in Bay County or Leon County, come on out and join us in canvassing and making calls. We need Angie in office now, and we do have those links in the chat. We also have Dean, who said he hit a bunch of doors today, and they're going out again tomorrow. And then Autumn states that while she can't give much time, she makes sure that she throws those donations over to the campaign.
Appreciate
Cap and credit
it.
card rates is something she's
And
supposed to
you
get the
know,
word
Autumn,
out amongst
yes,
most Americans as well.
I have pledged that I will push to cap credit card rates at least for a year at 8% the first year. Right now, because credit card debt is cool. crazy. And so that is something that I fully support, capping credit card rates at 8% for a year to help people pay down their debt and keep money in their pockets.
So thank you so much. We appreciate you all for joining us tonight. We hope you join us here every Sunday at 8 p.m. As I stated, I've dropped the link in the chat and I'll do so again. There is a Facebook event in order for you, and then you register with us on Mobilize. If registered on Mobilize, you can actually submit your questions there as well. Angie, I want to tell you thank you, like sincerely. Not many people are willing to take the risk that you do and the level of commitment that you have to answer the questions for everyone and not just people that support you. You feel a lot, you take it all with grace, and we want to thank your family as well for being as supportive as they are. I mean, even Jared, as he is driving with you on this Father's Day, it is so greatly appreciated. And
Did you,
Ashanti, hi.
did you just roll your eyes, husband? It's a family
Yes,
affair.
it is. And Ashanti, we want to make sure that we give you your flowers too, because you be on the go and you are amazing wherever you go with your mom.
Ashanti,
So
you
we
hear
will
me
not leave
tonight?
you out.
Say hi. Hey, say hey.
Hey there. And good night to everyone. We hope to see you again soon, and we hope to see you on the campaign, knocking on doors and helping us to make phone calls.
Thank you. We appreciate y'all. Bye.